BGI TV yìí mo fẹ́ máa wò, ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ tí ń gbèsè mo fẹ́ gbọ́, ètò lóríṣiríṣi wọ́n wà lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan, ìròyìn tó kojú òṣùwọ̀n àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ àgbọ́ fi kọ́gbọ́n, eré wọlé fún tẹ̀rù tọmọ tèwe tàgbà ẹ má fi para. BGI TV mo fẹ́ máa wò, ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ tí ń gbèsè mo fẹ́ gbọ́, ètò lóríṣiríṣi wọ́n wà lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan, ìròyìn tó kojú òṣùwọ̀n àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ àgbọ́ fi kọ́gbọ́n, eré wọlé fún tẹ̀rù tọmọ tèwe tàgbà ẹ má fi para. BGI TV, we are the pace setter. Bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣọ̀n station tí dòde.
Iléeṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán tó mọ bó ṣe ń lọ, tó ní ìròyìn kọ́ńbọ̀kì tó jẹ́ yàjóyàjó, ìròyìn àti ìsọfúnni àtìgbàdégbà, àwọn ètò tó ké pọ́pọ́ filẹ̀ má yí kúò ń bẹ̀, má gbé kúò ń bẹ̀, máa jẹ̀gbádùn ẹ̀ lọ. BGI TV, bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV. Èdùà òkè ló dirí ẹwà fákòkò o, bí ọ̀kín bá tú ìyẹ́ ẹ̀ díẹ̀ ẹwà rẹ̀ àkàlẹ̀ àkà oko. Ẹ kàn sí ẹ̀ka ìpolówó ọjà wa láti bá wa dòwò pọ̀ lórí +234 70 38 22 61 60 fún àwọn tí ń bẹ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà 070 38 22 61 60. BGI TV, bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ TV, ọ̀gá ni kọ́ń láwùjọ òkúta.
Bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣọ̀n station tí dòde.
ọ̀tọ̀ ni títọ́lú, ọ̀tọ̀ ni títọ̀lú, ọ̀tọ̀ ni títọ́lútọ̀lú, olọ́tọ̀ ní tòun ọ̀tọ̀. ọ̀tọ̀ ní iléeṣẹ́ wa o, iléeṣẹ́ alára àgbàyídá BGI TV, bàbá gbàgede ìmọ̀ tẹlifíṣọ̀n. Ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò tí a gbé dé lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ. ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lètò tẹ́ fẹ́ wò yìí. ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ, ọ̀rọ̀ tó ṣojú mi kò rò, ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ́ pé àfi ká tètè wá nǹkan ṣe sí kó tó kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀, òun náà ni ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ. A máa ń gbé ètò yìí wá láti tún fi yé wa ní o, láti fi tó wa létí àwọn tí ń lọ ní agbègbè wa káàkiri. ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí òun náà ni tàwọn agbésùnmọ̀mí tí wọ́n sọ pé kí gbogbo Nàìjíríà káfòká nìṣó okùnbí tá gbà, pàápàá jùlọ wọ́n ti dàbújá. ẹ sì mọ̀ pé ikú tó ń pogójì ló ń pọ̀ ọ̀ọ́dúnrún, ohun tó ń ṣe abọ́yadé, àrùn tí ṣogójù ní pọ̀ ní ṣọ̀ọ́dúnrún o. Yorùbá lóhun tó ṣe abọ́yadé, wọ́n ní gbogbo ọlọ́ya níṣe. gbogbo tí ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí gbogbo àwa mẹ̀kúnnù, oyè tó káràwó ni ó mà padà ti wá kárẹ́ ẹ̀dẹ̀pọ̀ báyìí. oyè tó káràwó, Fúlàní jínigbé lọ́tún, wọn jínigbé lósì, tí gbogbo aráàlú ń pariwo tẹ́lẹ̀ tábùjá fọwọ́ lẹ́rán tí wọ́n ṣe bí ìpá wọn ò gbọ́. ó ti padà wá kàn wọ́n gbo. Àbújá ti rí, kódà àwọn tá a rán lọ sílé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin àgbà wọ́n mà ti fẹsẹ̀ fẹ́ ẹ̀. Oníkálùkù wọn ti wá gbígbà o. wọ́n láwọn lọ sí recess, àwọn lọ lídé onípàjáwìrì fún ọ̀sẹ̀ méje tàbọ̀sẹ̀ mẹ́fà gbáko. ẹ wá wò ó, ọ̀sẹ̀ méje ọ̀sẹ̀ mẹ́fà ó dín dí oṣù kan àbọ̀ gbáko nìyẹn. gbogbo èròǹgbà wọn ni pé síwájú káwọn tó padà dé, gbogbo àwọn agbésùnmọ̀mí ìyọ̀wó àti tó wọn, àbíjọba ó ti wá nǹkan ṣe sí. àwa mẹ̀kúnnù tá àwa ráyè sá lọ ń kọ́ o, kí ni káwa ṣe. ṣùgbọ́n arákùnrin kan ẹni tí gbogbo ayé mọ̀ ni bàbá Fẹ́mi Fálànà, wọ́n lẹ́yìn olóògbìmọ̀ aṣòfin ẹjẹ́ ìṣòdodo fún yín o, wọ́n ló súnmọ́ kẹ́ ẹ má rí ilé-ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin dé sí o tẹ́ ẹ bá fi padà dé. wọ́n ló ṣeé ṣe kẹ́ ẹ má rí ilé-ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin padà sí o nígbà tẹ́ ẹ bá fi padà dé, torí pé a ò lè sọ dúgbẹ́dúgbẹ́ tí ń mì lókè yìí, a ò mọbi tí ó já sí. ó lè já sílé, ó sì lè já sóko. wọ́n ní kíní ìkíní rẹ ni oníwọ̀ lọ sẹ́dẹ̀ bó o bá tẹdẹdẹ ó padà bẹ̀rù rẹ lọ́ẹ̀dẹ̀. ẹ wá nǹkan fìdílé tàbí kẹ́ fìdílé nǹkan kẹ́ jájọ gbádùn ètò ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ yìí lórí ìkànnì bàbá gbàgede mọ̀ TV. ẹ ké sára alẹ́ ẹ ké sára oko ẹ jẹ́ kí wọ́n mọ̀ pé ètò ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ ó tún di dòde o lágbára ọlọ́run tí ó bá fi di ọwọ́ alẹ́ bíi dèédé aago 8 alẹ́ àrá kan sàn bọ́ǹbù ó dù lálà ó dù torí pé sinimá àgbéléwò kan jáde tá a mọ̀ sí fídíò lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá Nation Now ni kó má kọ́ ọmọ Yorùbá kan tí ò ní wò ó torí pé n tó wà ń bẹ̀ gúdúgbẹ ni o mo lanu mo sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ bọ́ lẹ́nu mi mo lanu kó tó ọ̀rọ̀ sì kò sí mi lẹ́nu mo sì sọ ọ̀rọ̀ náà jáde gbogbo wa ni mo rọ̀ pé kí ẹ jẹ́ ká wò ó déédéé aago 8 gẹ́rẹ́gẹ́ ní Nigeria time òun náà ni àgbéléwò yìí náà jáde ní fídíò yìí ó jáde ẹ gbìyànjú kẹwò ẹ má wàá wò nìkan ẹ share fún gbogbo àwọn èèyàn ẹ rí ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ yìí tá à ń ṣe lọ́wọ́ yìí náà ẹ bá wa share ẹ káwọn ayé lè mọ̀ pé àṣé nǹkan ti yan nílùú Nàìjíríà mi ò ní fẹ́ gbà wá lásìkò àwọn mi kẹ́ wá nǹkan fìdílé tàbí kẹ́ fìdílé nǹkan kẹjá jọ jẹ̀gbádùn ètò náà ṣùgbọ́n ká sọ pé bàbá Fẹ́mi Fálànà wọlé mo máa ń sọ gbogbo ìgbà pé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń wò wá ẹ̀yin ò ṣe gbìyànjú kẹ́ ẹ rí pé ibi tí wọ́n kọ subscribe sí fẹ́yìn tẹ́ ń wò wá lórí YouTube kẹ́ ẹ bá wa buwọ́lù kẹ́yìn náà dára wa ẹ wo ibi tí wọ́n kọ subscribe sí ẹ̀tẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ bá tí tẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀ẹ̀kan náà ni bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti wá tẹ̀ ẹ tẹ aago tó wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ rẹ̀ eléyìí ni wọ́n pè ní notification bell bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti tẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ ti dára wa nù ṣe rí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tẹ aago yẹn ẹ rí ALL ọ̀lù ẹ̀ sátẹ̀ yẹn náà parí gbogbo ìgbà tá a bá ti ń ṣètò síkànnì náà lẹ́ máa rí o bákan náà ni pé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Facebook a wà lórí gbàgede mọ̀ with Aláwìyé Adébáyọ̀ ẹ fọ́lò wa ń bẹ̀ ẹ tẹ fọ́lò kẹ fọ́lò wa tẹ́ ẹ bá ti tẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Instagram a wà lórí gbàgede mọ̀ _22 ẹ fọ́lò wa ń bẹ̀ náà mi ò ní fẹ́ ká bọ́pò lọ́lé olóró kò ní wù mí ká sọ iléyá ká sọ ìdílé pẹ́ ó wù mí ká jọ lọ sí ìlú Èkó lórí ìkànnì kan ni tí wọ́n ti pe bàbá Fẹ́mi Fálànà SAN SAN ẹ mọ̀ páwọn náà mọ ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ Nàìjíríà ọ̀rọ̀ bọ́ lẹ́nu wọn wìrìwìrì sì bọ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ lọ bá wọn lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ lọ́wọ́ yìí náà ni ká lọ gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá yìí sọ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń lọ ní Nàìjíríà ẹ jẹ́ fi yín lẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí láyọ̀ ọ̀yà o.
Morning. Good morning. Well, that walkout has been described in different ways by different persons in the executive arm of government. But you had a protest before that day, and you almost had a similar narrative in terms of what was expected of the president. What do you think of this 6 weeks ultimatum to the president now over the same insecurity matter?
The ultimatum is not realistic, and it's not a reflection of the gravity of the crisis, the security crisis in the country. I had thought you should have given the president a 7-day ultimatum.
Will 7 days be realistic?
Because within 6 weeks, there may really be no National Assembly complex to return to. Schools have been closed down. Yesterday, we had a call to the birth ceremony. The venue has to change. And parents were asked not to, turn up because of the seriousness of the situation. So I had expected the Senate or the National Assembly members to take this matter very, very seriously. But I can understand. They are going on vacation for the next 6 weeks. But you can't talk of a holiday or a vacation when your house is on fire. And that is the situation in Nigeria today. That is the situation in Nigeria today. And from what you could see, the protest yesterday transcends political affiliations. And, you know, it's a general crisis. And it shouldn't be seen by the presidency as an attempt by the opposition to embarrass. And if members of the advanced team of the president are attacked and killed, and members of the presidential guard are killed, it is a serious crisis. And the criminal elements are threatening. I mean, can you imagine the temerity to threaten that they're going to kidnap the president of the country? So it's not enough to say, oh, this is laughable. What are we doing? What is the government doing to allay the fears of Nigerians? For instance, I was traveling to Abuja last week. And quite a number of colleagues, members of my family, you know, were wondering, what is so urgent that you are going to Abuja? Please be careful in Abuja. You only say that in a war situation. And if care is not taken, if we continue with the lackadaisical attitude of the political class, we're going to be in trouble. You can't talk of elections next year if the situation is not arrested, and not gently too. The economy is in crisis. Where are you going to get money? From what we are being told by the central bank now, where are you going to mobilize the fund, even to acquire weapons? So it is a very serious crisis that requires an emergency session of the National Assembly.
But is it really feasible to impeach the president? By the way, you said the political class, but this latest move, do you think it is actually feasible to go the whole hog to impeach the president?
You see, by virtue of section 14, subsection 2, subsection 2 of the Constitution, the welfare and security of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Once the welfare of our people has been sacrificed, security is under serious threat. In fact, the National Assembly has been slow, extremely slow.
What more could they have done?
In setting the engine in motion for impeachment.
And Chamberlain, with regards to impeachment, will the National Assembly be able to pull off what it takes, you know, to get senators and lawmakers at the lower chamber across party lines to impeach the president? Because
everybody is under threat. You listen to them on a regular basis, including APC senators, APC members of the House of Representatives. Many of them are saying they cannot go home because their homes, their states have been taken over by terrorists. So it cuts across party lines. And the crisis in the country is a national one. And, you know, the authorities will have to go back to the drawing table. Because we can't go on reading press statement by the presidency when Nigerians are kidnapped, or when terrorists are asking family members of abducted people to pay ransom to the tune of 100 million per person. You can't do that when there is a government in place. The payment of ransom openly, it is a confirmation of the near collapse of the government. And there should be no sentiment here. We should all be worried as a people that we never went so low. Even during the Civil War, there were areas that were well secured. But today, I mean, recently we saw the attacks on military institutions in Kaduna. And that is a fortress.
You know,
Kaduna State hosts the largest military institutions in the country.
But
the place has been conquered by terrorists. Now they have moved to Abuja.
If you look at, pardon me to jump in, if you look at how the senators went about it in the Senate, for those who thought, Well, if they actually meant this, and if it was not for the optics, the President of the Senate just said there that, look, you understand the process of presenting a matter such as this one.
For sure.
But they went about it the wrong way. That's why he said, from his perspective, that he fell flat on his face, that they had passed that stage, they didn't go through the emotions and the bills. And so, on that basis alone, it was thrown out. And then they staged a walkout.
No, I want to believe that the senators who were calling for impeachment were merely warning the government. Frankly speaking, I don't think they meant it. Because what is required, and they have the number, to sign the impeachment notice. So it's not just about walking out or protesting. You have to do the right thing. But like I said, I believe they are merely warning.
So is it that they want to show their constituency that, well, we seem to be doing something?
Yeah. So hence we are talking about of 6 weeks ultimatum.
So can they pull it off? If push comes to shove.
I seriously believe we are in a serious crisis situation. And I do hope the presidency or the government will have to save the country from imminent collapse. We're moving inexorably to a precipice. There's no way you can just be issuing press statements, meaningless press statements, empty press statements, which they have become in the face of the crisis of insecurity. And I'm talking of physical insecurity. There is food insecurity in the country. There is social insecurity in the country. So it requires the meetings of all agencies of the government to address this monumental security crisis.
And this touches at the very heart of an issue that Nigerians face every day, not just in Abuja, not just in Kaduna, across board. But just how much difference would possible impeachment of the president make? Because don't forget, and I think you have responded to the statement by the president or the president's aide saying he has done all that is at least he can do, and even more in terms of moral equipment and all.
It simply means I am tired. So what the president has said is anxious to go back home.
So what do you think a new president will do? Don't forget you've talked about how we have, paucity of funds, the dollar to naira exchange rate. So in the present situation, what can a change of power, a change of president achieve?
For me, I don't think this crisis should be narrowed down to the president. We're talking of a system.
So it's bigger than the president?
It's bigger than the president. You're talking of a system. But apparently there's no coordination. Take the National Assembly, for instance. Money is appropriated. Huge sums of money appropriated for security in the country. Does anybody monitor the disbursement of the fund? Yet, you also read stories about generals, making away with hundreds, if not billions of naira. And nobody is taking them to task. I defend soldiers, and they complain to me that we're ready to fight. We're ready to defend the territorial integrity of our country. But we're not armed. The weapons are not there. The equipment is not there. So, does the National Assembly follow up? So it's not enough to say, oh, we have made fund, we provided sufficient fund. And when the president, or when the presidency says, we've done all that we can, but it means our efforts are not enough. So what do you do in this circumstance?
But in this circumstance too, given the challenge we have with insecurity, in that protest, you said, well, if something is not done, they risk an NSAS-like kind of situation. And then we had a guest yesterday who advised, to you particularly, saying he doesn't think that you should go that route, because if you do, these people will take advantage of it. given the situation that we're in, and it may likely come up worse than expected. Is this something you think?
No, you see, what I was saying was that if care is not taken, if what has become inevitable chaos is not halted, that what may happen to the country may be worse than the NSAS protest. I was not calling for an NSAS protest, but it is the business of the ruling class to prevent the collapse of the country. It's not about me. And I mean, I'm a lawyer. I want to go to court, practice law, right? But you cannot practice law in an atmosphere of insecurity. So that is the issue. It is for the government. It's not, you shouldn't advise me. You should be advising the government. Don't create an atmosphere of chaos that can lead to protests. I mean, we have protests in the past 2 days in the country, organized by the Nigerian Labour Congress. No window was smashed. No door was broken. And that is what we have been advocating for. Allow Nigerians to express themselves peacefully, follow the provisions of the law, particularly Section 83, Subsection 4 of the Police Act 2020, that during a protest, the police shall provide security. And that was what was done in the last 2 days. And I want to commend the Inspector General of Police for the approach. And it means we're civilized. We're getting there in that area of our nation.
But you know, when you then speak about the system, because I mean, you look at what's going on and you expect concerted efforts from different parts of the system, the federation, the states, the government, and that doesn't seem to be the case. Why is that failure?
No, you see, when I talk of lack of coordination, frankly speaking, there's so much attention paid to Abuja, whereas the governors are the chief security officers in their states. Security votes running to billions of naira are earmarked for the security of our people. In every state in Nigeria, there is a state security council headed by the governor. All the military, heads of military institutions, police, state security service, all of them are members. And the governors are required, as each of them, as a chair of the committees, to give instructions and provide adequate fund to secure the people in the state. But every time we're talking about security, it's all about Abuja.
We raised this part too yesterday.
It's all about Abuja.
Yeah, we raised this matter too yesterday with Professor Dinkalo, and he thought, no, that's not correct. There's nothing the state governors can do.
No,
they are just CSOs on paper.
No, unlike the armed forces, headed by the president as the commander-in-chief of the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The president is not the commander-in-chief of the police force.
But can a governor give a commissioner, for example, an order?
Oh yes, there is the Nigerian Police Council. The president is only the chairman. The 36 state governors are members. And of course, in addition, the Inspector General of Police and the chairman of the Police Council. So in that body of 39 members, 36 of them are state governors. But the body never meets. I have a case in court. Thou shalt meet regularly. Requisition a meeting or meetings to discuss and review the security situation in the country on a regular. No, just a minute. Based on that case in court, the National Assembly included, I think, Section 6 of the Nigerian Police Act 2020. This body shall meet, the Nigerian Police Council, not less than twice a year, and can also meet in emergency situations. But that law was enacted. That law came into force in September 2020. That body has never met. So the governors are required to requisition the meetings of that body on a regular basis. It's a constitutional body established pursuant to section 153 of the Constitution. And you are talking about instructions. Of course, it's put in the Constitution, that, if there is a problem, the Commissioner of Police may refer to Abuja. And since 1999, I have never heard of a situation where a governor gives an instruction that there is some disturbance in Ikorodu, say Lagos for instance, by Bado boys or whatever you call them, or the 1 million march, 1 million boys. So they are causing problems. So, Commissioner of Police, please go there. I've never heard of a situation where the Commissioner of Police says no. But I can tell you, in the case of Lagos.
Exactly. Because
and in many other states.
The fact that you've never heard does not mean that is not the case.
No, in the case of,
parts.
I think in 2006, when Dr. Chris Ngigi, right, was governor of Anambra State before he was removed by the courts, the Commissioner of Police, with the connivance of the presidential villa then, under President Obasanjo, instigated the Commissioner of Police in that state not to carry out the instructions of the governor. The governor went to court, and the Supreme Court, in the case of AG Anambra State and AG of the Federation, ruled that the governor of a state is in charge of security in that state, and the Commissioner of Police shall comply with all lawful directives of the governor. The only area where a Commissioner of Police may be permitted by law to say, sorry, and I've seen it. If a governor suddenly says, go and arrest my opponent, that has nothing to do with the security of the state, of the country. The Commissioner of Police may rightfully say, please, you better direct your instructions, to Abuja. I'm not going to do that. But to say you are not going to combat crimes in a state, the governor has the right to ask for the removal of the Commissioner of Police. And if it's not removed, you go to court.
Well, Mr. Falana, why do you think this body does not meet regularly?
I think it's part of the carryover from the military. It's part of the dangerous legacies of the military, whereby the president is seen as the chief security officer of the country. And therefore, everybody must kowtow to the presidency. But we have repeatedly maintained that governors must share police powers with the president. That is the provision of the Constitution. In fact, by virtue of section 216 of that Constitution, an Inspector General of Police cannot be appointed or removed without
the advice of the Police Council? Yes.
The president must consult the Police Council. But what has happened in Nigeria? An Inspector General of Police is appointed or removed, and the governors read about it on the pages of newspapers, like all of us. It shouldn't be so. And that has been the practice since 1999. So if we are talking about security of Nigeria now, we must take advantage of the provisions of the Constitution. That, Mr. President, your police powers cannot be exclusively exercised by you alone. If we are going to, take for instance, the authorities in Abuja decide how many police personnel should man every state. No. This has to be discussed by that council. Because the council under the Constitution shall administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian police force.
So can a governor call for that meeting if the president doesn't call for the meeting?
Oh, for sure.
And an option to that, Mr. Falana, will be the National Security Council. But then the governors are not part of the National Security Council.
That's military, the armed forces, service chiefs, the president, vice president are members. That's why I say the president, under section 218 of the Constitution, is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And my sister, as far as the Constitution is concerned, Section 217, the military shall not be involved in the internal security of Nigeria unless there is an insurrection. But what has happened? The armed forces have taken over, have usurped the functions of the Nigerian police force.
Well, some will say it was really just expedient because of the challenges we were facing.
No!
And for the governor and the commissioners.
No, because the police is neglected. Everything we are talking about security now. So how do you get more money for the armed forces? Not the police that is in charge of internal security in our country.
But I think the police gets fair share
external
of the funding as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen them commissioning equipment and all of that.
When there is a total breakdown of law and order in the state, if you fund the police, we don't need to bring in the army to deal with armed robbery, kidnapping, and the rest of it.
But terrorism and banditry, can the police take care of that? Because that's majority of what we're faced with now.
In most parts of the world, in most settled democracies, once you equip your police, you only bring in the military on a very rare occasion. Oh, yes. But you again, take for instance, when we're talking of security, it's all about provide more money. That's all. To arm the military. Nobody is talking of security equipment. And I've said it publicly. Lagos is the largest city that I know in the world without CCTV cameras. Abuja is the only capital of a modern state in the world without CCTV cameras.
But I think there are some CCTV cameras in parts of Lagos.
In Abuja, the contract was awarded for $470 million. We are it was a loan taken from China. We are paying the loan. Meanwhile, the money was cornered.
Mr. Fuller, you have identified the challenges across board. So from the lawmakers, the governors, the president. So should we just then impeach all of them? Because clearly everybody has their own responsibility here.
And I think that is the basis of the 6-week ultimatum. It provides an opportunity for all of us to go back to the drawing table and assign responsibilities or ask people to take on and perform their duties under the Constitution and other relevant laws. That's it.
And in that regard, can the governors be invited to a National Security Council meeting if we consider that the IGP is also part of that meeting?
No, Nigerian Police Council. You don't need to involve governors in the Nigerian Security Council meetings. This is their own duty. And do you know?
But the governors are the National Assembly members, officers of their states.
You know, the National Assembly members. No. What I'm saying is that in each of the states, there is a state security council. All the heads of security agencies operating in the state are members, and the governor is the chair. Take the National Assembly, for instance, to know where people are not performing their duties. By virtue of Section 217 of the Constitution, and there are decisions of the court to this effect, that the president cannot deploy troops. He cannot deploy members of the armed forces in any part of the country without the approval of the National Assembly. Since 2015, the National Assembly has never called the president to order by drawing his attention to the provision of the Constitution and the decisions of our court. Secondly, since 2015, the president has not declared a state of emergency. Yet, Section 305 of the Constitution has imposed a duty on the president, to declare a state of emergency when there is a breakdown of law and order in any part of the country or in the entire country. Governors are also empowered by that section, right, with the support of the House of Assembly in each of the states to request for a state of emergency. But, mind you, it does not mean when you declare a state of emergency in a state is to empower the president to adopt extraordinary measures to restore law and order. It does not mean that you must remove the governor of the state and demolish democratic structures like President Obasanjo did when he was in power. And I think that is why people are afraid. But the point I'm making, under Section 305, the president will need the approval of the National Assembly once he declares a state of emergency. But that has never happened since 2015. So it's not about the president alone. Okay. Now, everybody, every agency of the government must take their duties very seriously.
On the floor of the House of Reps yesterday, some of them, they raised a motion about a certain bill, which had to do with the elections, the Electoral Act, BVAS, and the likes. And they also looked at the interpretation of Section 115. You know, they did say that they had different people, including Rex, quoting it wrongly. In fact, let's read it so that you can shed some light on that. So, if you look at 115D, with respect to offenses in respect of nomination, D says, I'll go again. Section 1151, a person who, then D says, signs a nomination paper or result form as a candidate in more than one constituency at the same time, then K says, signed a nomination paper consenting to be a candidate at an election, knowing that he or she is ineligible to be a candidate at that election, commits an offense, and is liable on conviction to a maximum term of imprisonment for 2 years.
No option of fine. No option of fine there. It's
So
imprisonment.
What does this mean?
No, I'm saying the court cannot say, instead of going to jail, pay 500,000 naira
So
fine.
does this appeal? How does this play out when it has to do with an aspirant and a candidate?
Now, you have to get certain things clear. That we're operating in an atmosphere of impunity of the ruling class. I mean, we're just talking about security now. On a regular basis, police commissioners in each of the states, and even the federal capital territory, parade serious criminal suspects involving terrorism, kidnapping, armed robbery, and the rest of them. At the end of the parade, no attorney general contacts the commissioner of police. Can I have the case file of the people you have paraded so that we can prosecute them? So at the end of the day, the police, there's been alleged, will release some of them. Others, unquote, are wasted. And so criminality continues in the society. That is what is being introduced. Now, same sense of impunity. Before this law, because we must know where we are coming from, the Supreme Court had ruled that you cannot have double nomination. I think that was in the case of Abia State. Yes, Abia. No, Imo. Where a guy contested and lost under the APC, took part in the governorship primary, and then moved to Accord to also participate and now claim that as a man.
As a candidate?
Oh, yes.
Not as an aspirant?
No, as a candidate. You know, and the Supreme Court said no, you cannot have double nomination. Now, when you talk of an aspirant here.
Sorry, even at different times.
Of course.
You can't have
it's
double
the same
nomination.
election, the same constituency, governorship election.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court said it's illegal. Then, what the authorities have done, the National Assembly members, who are now worried because some of them are also engaging double nomination, they are now worried. What they have done is to criminalize the practice of jumping from one party after losing in the primary to another party. Now, when you talk of a candidate, for instance, a guy contested to be president of Nigeria, took part in the primary as an aspirant. We are now told, even though the primary for the senatorial election has passed, His name is now submitted to INEC as a candidate. Yes. So it's a criminal offense.
I still don't get that
And
part.
part of it is to stop impunity and political prostitution.
So, in this case now,
Yes.
we have, for instance, the governor of Ebonyi State contested in the presidential primaries
Yes.
and lost.
And lost.
And now resorts to the senatorial election. But this time, his brother won the election. He's now trying to replace he has replaced the brother, so to speak. Is that criminal? Because
No,
the clarification here, according to him, is that he was an aspirant in one and a candidate in the other.
You see, we can't debate that now because there is a judgment of a court which is valid and subsisting. And so, even if I have any opinion with respect to the sector, there is a judgment which INEC must comply with, which is binding on the governor and all authorities and persons in Nigeria. That is the law today. So, if an INEC person, official, comes here to say, oh, we depend on our own report in Abuja, therefore, we are not bound by reports of INEC in the state. I wonder, what are you talking about? There's only one INEC.
Sorry, but
there's only one INEC.
It's a general practice if you consider Akwa Ibom and you consider Yobe, the Senate president. So you can comment on it on a generic term.
No.
Does your term political prostitution apply here?
Of course, of course. Because known to the whole world, you took part in the primary in Abuja. You lost. You then rushed to your state and claim that you're a candidate. And INEC now says you're a candidate in the senatorial election, which had been held in your absence. So again, like I said, there is already a judgment on this matter. In the case of Akwa Ibom and Yobe, the cases are in court.
But you know, without some of those specifics, since there are judgments about that, so we can put them in context.
Yes.
Now, when you say that someone contested in a primary as an aspirant,
yes,
well, that is over. Then the person goes somewhere. Then
I say I'm now a candidate.
Then his name was submitted. There are several things that come up there and several contexts with the Electoral Act. But how about this scenario where they say, look, if I buy a nomination form for a particular constituency to vie for that election, and that primary is done, the election holds, the election is over for that particular election, whether it's president, state, governorship, or whatever, if it's over, the life of that is over. So I can then say, if the primary of, say, House of Reps is not over, I can buy a form.
No.
If I buy that form.
No, you are required to choose one.
Wait, but it says,
also easy.
but it says here at the same time, at the same election.
Yes.
So if
the same 2023 election.
Yeah, but if the lawyers say, well,
it's not what the lawyer says.
Different offices.
Yeah, for instance, now, are you saying that if I'm going to contest for maybe Senate and or the presidency, and the election for that is over,
and I lost,
can I not go and say, look, that is over, and at the time I'm going for the Senate, I hadn't bought the form, so if I buy the form when the form is still being sold?
There are two issues.
Yeah.
The primary to the senatorial election is over. It's over. So your name can only be smuggled in by the political party. And INEC is enjoined by the law.
No,
INEC is enjoined by the law.
Okay, look at this. How is this smuggled in? Because
primaries.
Yeah, two different primaries.
Different timelines for different primaries.
No. You see, you have chosen to go for the president. You have chosen.
Yeah.
Others have chosen to go for the Senate or House of Reps or governorship or House of Assembly. If you lose that one, you cannot say, I push you aside.
Does the law frown against
I now bribe some officials in INEC. Please, put my name.
But the question, senior advocate, is does the law frown at that?
Of course.
Because they said that now this may be trying to smuggle in a different disqualification other than what's in the Constitution. So what part of the Constitution or the Electoral Act frowns at that specifically?
Yeah. Section 84 says there shall be a primary conducted by the party, monitored by the INEC.
Right.
In these cases, mind you, the reports of INEC do not favor these guys. The reports of INEC. Nobody has said, oh, these guys won the primary. No. Because there shall be a primary monitored by INEC. And the Constitution did not set out the Section 84.
Okay, but if you look at
Section 29, there are conditions.
Yeah.
If you don't meet those conditions, your name is a criminal offense to send your name.
But what about Section 33?
Right.
What does it say?
A political party shall not be allowed to change or substitute its candidate whose name has been submitted under Section 29 of this Act, except in the case of death or withdrawal by the candidate, provided that in the case of such withdrawal or death of a candidate, the political party affected shall, within 14 days of the occurrence of the event, hold a fresh primary election to produce and submit a fresh candidate to the Commission for the election concerned. So the parties are saying, in this regard, even if somebody contested the election, he wins the election. If he withdraws, does all that
and
formality,
there's a procedure for withdrawal,
and fulfills the procedure for the withdrawal, can the political party now say, we'll hold a fresh primary, of which a new candidate shall be presented for that election, if they fulfill all of this?
What the court has decided is that if you have taken part in another primary, you are not qualified. It's for other members of the party. And it's in line with democratic principles.
Which court was that? Is it the one in Imo?
Federal Court in Ebonyi.
In Ebonyi. Oh, what is, but by the way, that judgment has been a bit tricky. So the judgment nullified the second primary conducted on June the 9th. And the court ordered for another primary.
Yes.
So that means the governor can participate in that primary as well.
No, the court has not said he should participate.
So what did the court say regarding participation?
Is that if you are well connected, with your party, right, you can smuggle in your name and you rubbish the person that emerged through a valid primary.
But what did the court say about participation in this case? Does it say the governor should not participate or conduct a fresh primary? Let everybody throw their hats in and see who emerges winner.
The court has said the governor cannot participate.
The court said that indeed.
Yes, because he has taken part in a primary. And that is the position of the court. Unless that decision is overruled by the Court of Appeal.
I've not seen that judgment, which is why I ask you. You've seen that judgment, am I right?
Yes. Yes.
So will the law need some form of amendment? Because
no.
Candidates
those who are trying to amend
under the clause of candidates and aspirants.
No, the law is very
still
clear.
Within safe zone.
The law is very clear. Those who are trying to amend now are trying to shift the goal in the middle of the game. They have discovered now that they are caught. So can we quickly amend the law? That's what they're doing.
So you're saying that the life of an election, even though one contested and ends, subsists, because at that point, wouldn't nomination forms and everything be invalid for every other person?
We're talking of the same election. It's all about 2023 general election.
But don't forget, Chamberlain, Mr. Okoye, actually, we put this question to him. And we asked, isn't only aspirants that sign nominations form? I said that actually there's a nomination form from INEC, which the candidates, now not the aspirants under the party, which the candidates will fill. So in that context, we're saying the nomination form being spoken about is the one that INEC gives for the candidates and not for the aspirants.
I'm not talking of what Mr. Okoye or anybody said. I'm talking of what the law.
But the law is clear. Candidates, nomination form.
Nomination form, right? You pay for nomination form.
No, INEC's nomination form.
No, just a minute. You pay. Now, we're not talking of general election now. We are talking of the primary of the political party. In the case of APC, but you pay 100 million.
Senior Advocate, the Act defines who an aspirant is, who a candidate is.
Yes.
An aspirant is clearly someone who's bought the form and is participating in the primary, while a candidate is the person who has won the primary.
Yes. Now, an aspirant, right, took part in the primary in Abuja, presidential primary. His name has now been sent to INEC.
As an aspirant?
No. As the candidate of a senatorial candidate. A candidate. not an aspirant. He says, I am the candidate, not an aspirant. So, and the law is saying, take one and allow others to participate in the democratic process. But don't use your position
Senior Advocate, are you saying...
to make a mockery
of the
electoral process.
Are you saying that you can only participate in one election in an election year?
Of course.
Either presidential,
of course.
Senatorial,
of course.
House of Reps.
And that is in line with democratic principles.
Two at the same time.
No. Otherwise, you do 3 and 4. If I lose Senate, I go for House of Rep. If I lose House of Rep, I go for governorship. And that will make a mockery of the letter and spirit of the law.
What do you say to those who say that? But the emphasis in that section 115 is on election and not on primaries.
You see what is important?
Because nomination form is given to candidates, not aspirants.
What is important is that the primaries have held, all of them. All right? Unless by some miracle. And winners have emerged. In the case of Akwa Ibom, in the case of Yobe. But the party, the APC, now sent out their name. What is required of INEC is to say, we have our report. We monitor the election, the primary. Because it's illegal under Section 29 of the Electoral Act to submit another name. So this is the report of the primary that we monitor. If you have a strange name, INEC is empowered to reject it. But don't tell me, for goodness sake, that INEC is a robot. Our hands are tied. No, the law has untied your hand.
Okay, so as we wind down...
But Section 29 is saying you must emerge from a valid primary. The Constitution, because all you are being told, we profound it by Mr. Okoye, is about the Electoral Act. So the Constitution, Section 285, Section 13 and 14, empowers INEC to take a decision on the nomination or election of anybody in the country. If you are offended, you can go to court to challenge the decision of INEC, because we already have about 334 cases in courts now, pre-election matters. It is the highest in the world. You are going to have not less than 100 again, since INEC has just published the names of House of Assembly members. Now, that is not, the law set out to stop that. If INEC has said, sorry, we monitored the election in Oshodi, local government, you did not emerge the winner. Therefore, APC, we are not taking this name. PDP, we are not taking this name. So that would have been the end of the matter. Nobody will go to court.
So wind down now. Could you tell us who, well, when he says that the resident electoral commissioners, maybe you should explain that. What is their position in INEC? Are they members of the commission or what?
This argument is so irrelevant and diversionary. There are 2 sets of public officers in INEC. 2, not 3. The chairman, the national commissioners, and the recs appointed by the president. And their
That's 3,
appointments, no, I'm just saying, they all belong to one group.
Oh, I see.
Their names are sent to the National Assembly, to the Senate, and they are confirmed. They are appointed by the president. The second group of public officers in INEC are officers of INEC, appointed by INEC. So you can't say, oh, Rex, you didn't appoint Rex, so they are not your agents, they are not your boys and girls, as we are being told now. There should be no dichotomy between the national commissioners and the Rex, because the Rex have statutory duties under the Constitution and the Electoral Act. For instance, the Rex shall collect all election materials from Abuja and distribute them and monitor the elections in their state. They are in charge of all elections conducted in their state, including presidential election. National electoral commissioners are not in charge in the states. And they cannot be in charge in the state. So when you now say, oh, they are not members of INEC, who are the members of INEC? Are they members of NNPC?
Does his position lend
or members of Channel Television?
Well, we need to.
They're members of INEC.
If you want to know what's going on in city, or you want to listen to the latest news and gist, no stress, oh, just tune to BGI TV. BGI TV, you're one in a million.